everyone, and welcome to our Instagram Live. Today we'll be answering questions submitted to you about arriving at Royal Holloway in September. My name is Francesca and I'm student staff. I work with the Hall Life team, which helps students adapt from home to halls, but I'm also doing my postgraduate studies in a degree for English literature.
Hi, I'm Alice. I'm doing my postgraduate degree in public history and I'm an international student. I live on campus and I also work as a student ambassador around a social media account here in Royal Holloway for my department.
Hi, I'm Rusty. I'm a second year English and Drama student from the UK and I'm also student ambassador.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I work with Royal Holloway. That's great. So we have some pre-submitted questions already. So just to start, would you be able to tell us what the first few days at Royal Holloway are like when you start term?
I think for me as an international student, it was a little bit overwhelming because everything was new. But it is nice because I received a lot of support. Due to my visa complications, I was 1 week late, so I missed all the freshers event, and people tend to say those are very, very helpful. But still, I navigated by the Royal Holloway app and all the letters, newsletters. Those really helped me to be on track of what is happening and what are the events. There were a lot of introductory lectures, how to write your essays, how to make footnotes, how to navigate yourself on campus. There were meetings with Whole Life's team. They came to our accommodation and said if we have any questions we should. So I feel like it is a lot when you arrive on campus for the first time, but also you meet a lot of people who are navigating you through the process, so it's not as scary as it might feel.
Definitely. I did my undergraduate degree at Royal Holloway as well as doing my postgraduate degree, and I'd say there wasn't much of a difference during that arrivals period for either of them, because there is welcome tents, you've got students and staff welcoming you in, and it definitely makes you feel so much more comfortable in those first few days, as well as obviously the Hall Life team, which do kitchen meetings to halls to kind of introduce you to living in halls, but also give you some advice and some tips about what to do over the year and who you can contact if you do need help. So it definitely makes you feel very comfortable.
We also have Freshers Week, which is a week before classes officially start, where sort of the main purpose is to help you settle in and meet as many people as possible. So everyone will have moved in a few days before, sort of over a few days period, and then Freshers Week involves meeting all societies on campus, so you can get to know all of them. There'll be daytime activities as well as more sort of drinking evening activities in the SU and things like that. So as well as occasionally welcome talks from your department, so it's just the best possible introduction to every aspect of uni.
That's great. And do you have any tips on how to prepare for the first day?
Join as many Facebook and WhatsApp chats that you can find. Typically when people know where they're going to university, they'll be posting on groups. Join as many of them as possible, and then that way you'll be able to meet loads of people before you've even arrived at university. But definitely the Societies Fair is such an amazing way to find those societies that you want to join, but also some that are very surprising. Like at Royal Holloway, we obviously have a Harry Potter society, which is something I didn't know about, which is really cool.
I found a relationship there.
Oh, okay, amazing. So there's something, there's always ways to meet friends and there's ways to prepare before you get to university, but I could not recommend enough joining those Facebook and WhatsApp groups, because they really help kind of introduce you to people that you may be living with, but also you'll be studying with throughout the year.
And I would say definitely download the Royal Holloway app, because it keeps you posted about everything that's going on campus. And another tip that was very helpful for me when I moved in as an international student, I couldn't bring everything that was necessary for me for my new accommodation, so I used Unikit service and I found a link on the Royal Holloway website, so all of my pillows and bed sheets and kitchen utensils were delivered to my place before I arrived. I think that was very helpful for me.
My biggest piece of advice would be don't panic and don't just hide in your room. Everyone is new to this environment too, so you're not the only one. Literally just go outside, talk to your flatmates, talk to anyone you'll see on campus, because chances are the majority of them will be new as well, and you can just meet so many new friends very quickly.
And take your card with you. Because all of my flatmates were locked out of their rooms on the first day because they forgot to take the card.
And we've got a question here, so when can you move into halls?
Okay, so I don't actually know this. it will be on the website. That will be definitely on the accommodation section under where I live. So if you go into that section of the uni, I think it's not actually been updated for this year yet, but it will be. And then it will also be, I think, on the app under a similar heading. So when that gets updated, it will definitely be updated, I think, mid-August, I think is the deadline. So yeah, that will be.
From memory, I think it was about 5 days before Freshers Week started. I think you had Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to move in, and then Freshers Week starts on the Monday.
Yeah, for this year it's the 16th of September. It's usually the third week in September. Yeah, and as you said, it's you get time to adjust and to meet other people you live with before that Freshers Week starts, which is obviously really handy in terms of moving into a new place and trying to make it feel like home.
And how do you prepare for moving into halls? Can you share your experience?
So there's some really great videos out there that give a list and they run down everything you need about, or what you might not even think you need when moving into halls. Obviously there's some things, that like obviously remember to bring your bedding and basically anything that makes you feel like home. The best thing I can advise you to bring is lots of photos from family and friends. They can really make your room feel like home and remind you of home too. But also you will be making so many memories throughout the year that photo board will then build with all those new memories that you'll be having. Does anyone else have any things that they brought that they're so happy they brought?
I brought photos as well. Like I printed out a lot of photos, and in moments when you feel homesick at one point or another, they are really helpful. And I also would say bring something like your favorite mug or something. It might not be big, but something that will
The thing I'm so grateful that I brought is a toasty maker. It was such a lifesaver because you're living by yourself for the first time, which means taking care of yourself 24/7. No one's going to cook for you. So having a toasty when I couldn't be bothered to cook definitely saved a lot of time.
Coming off the back of that, there's student cookbooks out there which are
Yes,
really helpful. So grab yourself a student cookbook, especially if you've perhaps never cooked before. Definitely handy.
And also maybe go through your clothes before you arrive and just ask your mom what regimes and laundry she use.
That's great. And what are some of the things that you should bring for accommodation? Is there anything which won't be available in halls?
So this year there will be no bedding in halls. So please make sure you bring a duvet and a pillow set. I mean, you can sleep without it if you want, but obviously it's always recommended that you bring it. And obviously there's no need to bring anything like a toaster or a kettle. You don't need that. That will already be provided for you. So there's no point of bringing that along because you just won't need to use it. Similar with a microwave. You won't need one of those or a Hoover, as you just said. The only things you need are those pots and pans, cutlery, and obviously you can buy those off uni kit, but obviously most people will bring them from home anyway. But if you are an international student, uni kit is definitely the best thing you can do. But never fear, Egham is just down the hill, and there is a Tesco and other supermarkets where if you do get to university and you find, I've not brought that, you'll be able to find those things when you get there. But definitely by talking to your prospective flatmates too, see what they're bringing, because 9 times out of 10 they might actually be able to share things with you, so it saves the hassle of having everyone bring 3 or 4 bowls when it's not quite necessary.
And is there any way to get in touch with people who'll be in the same accommodation before term starts?
Yeah, so we actually have a virtual common room on Facebook, which I think you mentioned earlier. So if you join the virtual common room, then at that point that different chats will start opening up for different accommodations, so you can find who's in your accommodation and get in contact before term starts.
Literally every social media possible, there will be people on it who are coming to uni. I think I found my flatmates on Snapchat, and I downloaded Facebook specifically for coming to uni because I knew there would be loads of groups on there. So just, even if you're not much of a social media user, it really helps just to get to know some people before you come, and then you can delete it after that if you want to.
We're actually also, I think we're trying to get a Discord up and running for halls, which would be really helpful because you'll be able to split into different channels, but that's not there yet, but it will be hopefully.
And what is there to do in the local area for socialising during the evenings and on the weekends?
We have a lot on campus itself, so you don't even need to leave campus. On campus we have SU nightclub and medicine nightclub, which is free of charge.
Medicine is free.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's free.
and then we have places to eat. We have the main dining hall and the hub. We also have Commuting, which is a very nice hangout place, one of my favorites. And then we have Thomas Kitchen. Also throughout the year there'll always be events happening. So international team is organizing events with international students. There'll be societies events. There'll be wholesale events. There'll be game nights in Crosslands Park. So if you just follow the newsletters, there will always be something to do on campus. Outside of campus, we have a cinema.
Yeah, we've got cinema, and we're really, really close to Virginia Water, which is the great park. So if you're anything like myself, I love going there on a Sunday and walking around the park. It's particularly beautiful in autumn time. Windsor is just a 10-minute drive, so you can go visit Windsor Castle. There's also loads of shops there. And of course you've got London, which is only a 40-minute train ride. So there's a whole host of activities that you can do if you fancy going off campus.
And Runnymede is close, and there are lots of memorials for those who are interested in history. There's a whole history path that you can take.
There's something for everyone, really. And of course on campus you've got societies and sports, which I think it's really fundamental to join those, especially if you want to make a lot of friends. Personally, I was part of Rock and Metal Society, believe it or not, and that was such a great way of meeting friends. We would have weekly socials at the pub, and we'd listen to music and we'd talk about that music. You're part of Dance Society?
Yes, I didn't plan this, but I am wearing a Dance Society t-shirt, so yeah, that is how I spend the majority of my evenings.
Yeah, so there is something for everyone. And like I said, definitely explore the societies online on the Royal Holloway website and Student Union website, because there's a whole host that I didn't even realise exist. So that's always a place where you can find your friends, or even friends that you might not have expected to meet.
And like you say with sport, they actually run quite a lot of, depending on what you're actually doing, it can be a free class, it can be a paid class, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on throughout term time, which is really cool to get involved with.
And I have a picture gallery and the library, which is just a nice social space where people hang out and sometimes watch movies, sometimes study, but there are lots of spaces on campus.
Oh, and societies quite often run socials as well. So I'm in Dance Society, but doesn't mean that every evening is like a dance class or a rehearsal. Sometimes we'll have a specific time in a week where we can just go and hang out and get to know each other a bit better. So definitely recommend that.
That's great. We've got a question. What is Freshers Week like?
It is busy, yeah, I agree, but it's not completely overwhelming. So you probably know already what you're doing at Freshers Week before your Freshers Week's even begun, because you might have bought your Freshers wristbands. But once you get there in the first few days, use the social media sites, follow the Student Union, follow Hall Life. It's really important because they'll be constantly posting updates about what's going on. It's also important to remember that Freshers Week isn't just for undergraduates, it's for postgraduates as well. They can get as involved with Hall Life events, Student Union events, any events, just like the undergraduates. So it is for both of them. What did you guys do for Freshers Week?
Literally everything. Society Fair took out a chunk of the day because that was a big line. But also it was a bit different for me because it was coming back from COVID when I started uni, so we had the influx of several year groups coming back at once, so it was extra busy. Yeah, a lot of the daytime activities, a lot of just meeting people.
Yes.
I had departmental introductions. But also you don't have to do everything in Freshers Week. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on like trying to make friends as quickly as possible. Do not worry if that doesn't happen for you necessarily. Like there are definitely other opportunities to socialise outside of just that 1 week. Your life isn't over if you miss out on anything. I mean, you missed it. So.
Yeah, I missed the Freshers Week. I was a little bit sad about it, but I can't say it was more difficult for me because I still received the same amount of support. I went to careers fair when I wanted to find a part-time job. There was a lot. All the societies were still doing the introductory events, so like Harry Potter was doing a sorting ceremony for like houses of Hogwarts, and yeah, I mean, you definitely can find friends outside of Freshers Week. Just as you go with your studies, there'll be so much.
Yeah, and if you do miss Freshers Week, there is Refreshers Week, which happens at the beginning of term 2. So there's always that opportunity. If you feel like you're not completely satisfied in term 1, you can always start again in term 2. But as you said, as you all said, there's so many opportunities throughout the whole year to meet friends and build upon those friendships as well.
That's great. And somebody has asked, how easy is it to commute to campus and get around on public transport?
Have we got any commuters here? No.
So I technically commute,
Yeah.
but I don't, because I'm staff, I don't actually stay on campus, but I do live in Bracknell and travel in the train every day, so it takes me about an hour, but I'm coming from quite far out. So the trains themselves are pretty regular, they run quite nicely, and generally speaking, there's not a lot of delays to the line that runs into Egham, which is lovely. And then the station itself is a really quick walk to campus, it's about 20 minutes, it's lovely. So commuting wise, the transport links are pretty good.
There are a lot of buses as well, so you can go to Wednesday, you can go to Heathrow if you need to go to London from there, so yeah, a lot of buses as well.
Yeah, loads of opportunities to commute with the trains and buses, as you said.
Quite a lot of people seem to do it as well, so you're more likely to meet friends who also commute, because there's quite a lot of them.
Yeah, similar to as you would if you were moving into halls, there's also commuting chats as well. So if you don't feel completely excluded in the normal, you feel completely excluded because obviously you can still join any freshers events as well. And obviously there's a whole commuting community which will help, and you can meet other people and perhaps even pair up with them to commute into campus.
That's great. And are you able to view your timetable before classes start?
Yes, you are. You can download your timetable, and I think there'll be a notification on the app. I don't remember if there's one on email, but I'm sure there is.
Email comes through.
Yeah, and you can download your timetable right in advance.
You can just talk to your peers as well and discuss when you've got classes going on, and when you have those departmental talks in your first week, they will explain a little bit more about how your timetable may work, if there may be any changes, and then they'll just reassure you, about your timetable and whether it's correct or not. But there's also those admin teams that you can go and speak to per school, and they'll be able to help you as well if you are having any problems with your timetable.
Great. And where can you go for wellbeing support in the first few days of term if you're feeling anxious about starting university?
Wellbeing is located in the Founders building, our
Yeah,
main building.
they're in Founders East, they're in the same corridor as us, which is helpful. So you can book drop-ins with Wellbeing 1-to-1, I think, and then if you're having an emergency, you can potentially just swing by the office, but that's sort of not something that we actively encourage because obviously they'll be working during the day. Hall Life runs drop-ins so the term coming up, we're going to be running them from Monday to Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. So at any point if you're having concerns about that, although actually during Freshers Week we run them a bit later to make sure that everyone gets a chance. So they're going to be running, I think, from 7 to 11 last night? Yeah, 7 to 11. So during Freshers Week we'll be available to help with a lot of stuff. The Student Services desk will be open during the day, which is really helpful if you have any concerns about that. I'm trying to think of anyone I've missed.
I can't remember exactly how they work because I haven't personally used them, but I believe that our student union also has a wellbeing team, so you can also chat to them.
Oh, and they have advice drop-ins on, I think, Tuesdays?
Yeah, that sounds right. Also, a lot of societies will have committee members who are specifically wellbeing or pastoral support. So once you're involved in societies, there's always someone that's a bit closer to your age that you can go to as well.
And I think also you'll be assigned a personal tutor by your department. Your personal tutor is obviously there to help with any academic queries, but say if you do need that wellbeing support, you can go to your personal tutor and you can discuss that with them, and they'll be able to signpost you in the right direction or even offer their own advice, which is really helpful.
The uni also works with Togetherall, which is an online service, which is really helpful because it runs 24/7 and you're sort of always able to reach out. If you don't feel like you can go in person, then you can just click online and go to that, and there's links to that in the wellbeing area of the intranet, which is helpful.
And there's a chaplains team on campus as well, so if you have any religious need and if you want to talk to anyone, you can always come to the multi-faith chapel that we have, and they also offer wellbeing advice and just talking to people who.
So there's loads.
That's great. And what other food options offered on campus?
Oh, I think we've touched upon that. I think you mentioned Kimiko and Imagine, which is a bubble tea place. Obviously you've got the hub and founders dining hall. They are more specifically designed for those catered students if you're living in catered accommodation, but it's not just exclusive for catered students. For example, if you do want to have dinner there or lunch there, you can go and have lunch and dinner there, which is quite handy if you don't feel like cooking.
And they offer loads of options. There are always
So many.
Yeah, always a vegan option, always several options with different types of meat.
Yeah, about the Boiler House as well, which offers really nice coffee. But obviously that's just on campus. There's loads of places that are just off campus too.
As well.
Yeah, there's loads of things. There is loads.
And can you bring your car to campus?
If you're living in halls, we actually don't encourage people, or we actually don't. There's no place to park on campus if you're living in halls because of the size of it. So if you're going to be living in halls, don't bring your car to campus. But obviously, if you're living off halls, then that's relevant to your own accommodation that you're going to.
Yeah.
I think the only exception is people with access requirements, but that would be a separate process.
And that's
something you can go through.
living in halls. If you're commuting, obviously, you can get in contact with Royal Holloway and you can arrange for your permit for when you get there. But you can literally just type in something as simple as Royal Holloway parking and it will come up with all the information that you need if you are commuting onto campus, and you can fill in all the necessary forms and sort it out all from there. It's a really easy process and you'll hear back straight away about whether you can park on campus or not.
And we've had a couple of questions submitted whilst we've been live. So one of those is, how soon or when will we hear back about our accommodation?
It's usually, it depends on whether or not you've confirmed your place or not at Royal Holloway. If you have a firm place, you should get necessarily emails about that. If you're going through something like clearing, you'll hear once you've obviously confirmed your place at Royal Holloway. But by the time obviously your move-in day arrives, you will obviously know. But keep a check out on your emails for everything, as Royal Holloway will be in communication with you about when you need to move in.
And another question was, why did you choose Royal Holloway?
For me it was a little bit different because when I was applying to university, we were like peak COVID era, so most universities weren't actually offering in-person open days, and Royal Holloway was, so I was able to come and look around and see what it was like. So that was kind of like the cinch for me, just so that I knew that I was spending the next 3 or more years of my life somewhere that I'd actually see in person. Also because I do a joint honours course, and Royal Holloway is kind of known for being very good at running joint honours courses. We run a lot, so I knew that there wouldn't be any timetable clashes or things like that. And the other thing is just the course. I really, really like my course. I like the options that I get to choose. I like that I wasn't forced to study Chaucer or some really dry like poetry on the English side. So yeah, just it was sort of the package.
For me it was the course as well, because I was looking specifically for a public history program, and it is quite a new field of studies. It doesn't exist, for example, in my home country yet. So this MA was the most well-established one in the UK, the first one in the UK, and I just looked at the modules and I looked at the professors, and they were all well introduced on the website. So this opportunity to know what exactly I will be studying and to know more about the program, that was very important for me. And also the support that I got online, because obviously I wasn't able to visit any open days, but the fact that there were so many online open days and there was a live chat always, and I just emailed with so many questions to the admissions team and they were always answering. That was like one of the key factors why I thought like this is the place where I want to be.
Definitely. I think the fact that I've stayed at Royal Holloway for another year is a testament to how much I love it here. But I think obviously if you do visit Royal Holloway, which as we've said we really actively encourage, the campus is the most beautiful thing, and Founders Building is stunning, and also it's a beautiful mix of new and old, so the architecture is amazing. That's not obviously strictly the reason I came here. The course itself as well was really great. Again, I do English literature, and I also did that for my undergrad, and the literature literally ranges all the way from Old English to post-modern studies. So there is something there. You can pick a period of literature depending on whatever you are interested in.
It's also great that we are part of the University College London, so
Yes.
we have access to additional resources, for example, Sandhouse Library resources, and we have a wonderful archive here downstairs. And for me, it was very important that it was one of the first places where women were able to receive higher education. That is very inspiring for me.
Definitely.
Great. We've had one other question as well, which might have been touched on earlier, but we can just revisit it, was what is the easiest way to get into central London, and how long would you say that journey is?
Definitely train. So the walk from campus to Egham Station is about 10-15 minutes. I've managed to do it in 7, so it's very, very short. And then the train from Egham to London Waterloo, which is what takes you into central London, is about 30-35 minutes, sometimes 37. And there's different trains you can get which take you off at different places in London. Say, for example, if you wanted to go to Richmond or Clapham Junction, you can do that too. But it's probably overall, from the time you walk from campus to get into central London, it's about 50-55 minutes. So it's really not that long at all.
And we had another question as well around international students joining, and whether you feel that there is quite a big international community on campus.
Yes, definitely. There's lots of international students on campus, and I think international students are more, especially postgraduate and undergraduate as well, they are more likely to stay on campus. So if you leave on campus, you meet a lot of people from different countries. So there is a huge community. There are special societies, there are special events for people from different countries, their own community events. There are societies that speak languages of your specific countries. So the international community is wide, and it is very friendly from my experience. So, and what is important to remember, what was very important for me, is to realize that everyone is in the same boat when everyone comes here for the first time in the UK. There's a lot of shock factor, you don't know how banks work and supermarkets and stuff like that. So, but as everyone is new here, so it's very helpful to exchange this experience you have and to help each other out. And people tend to do that.
And during that welcome weekend, when you do arrive to campus, the Student Service Centre run a service that's specific for international students. So it's directly specific for them. So it means that if you have any questions, you have people and staff that are working that are experts and can answer your questions straight away. So it just helps that little bit of comfort as you move to Royal Holloway.
And the international support team are always in Founders, right next to Wellbeing, so you can always come to them. I've come several times when you have questions about your visa, about your stay, about your travels. They're always there. You can email them, or you can I just tend to drop in and ask my questions throughout the day during their working hours. So, and they always organize events specifically for international students. So there'll be a lot of for postgraduates as well, wine nights for international students, picnics for international students. So they're not forgotten at all.
No, not at all.
And then one of the last questions we had, I think we touched on accessible rooms in halls. A question that has been asked is, how hilly is campus, and is there accessible routes for people in wheelchairs?
Yes, there's always an accessible route. Obviously Royal Holloway does appear very hilly. I think it might be notorious for that, but I don't know about anyone else. There is always routes around, step-free access that you can take, and most, in fact, if not all, of the buildings will have lifts when actually you're in the buildings themselves, and it makes it extremely accessible for you.
And the last question would be, what would be one piece of advice you'd give to somebody coming to Royal Holloway, and what would you say for them to do for their first year?
Did you want to go round maybe and offer a bit of advice?
Yeah. Just think about it. Well, definitely, I've already mentioned some things like keep reading newsletters and keep reading notifications, because there's so much in it that I've personally missed sometimes and really regret that. Visit workshops for academic writing. visit CEDAS. They are very helpful. They help you with academic writing. They can proofread your essays, especially all of your assignments, especially, and it's for free. And with your first assignments, it might be a little bit scary to submit your very first assignment in Royal Holloway, especially if you're an international student. I was very scared of my language difficulties. What if I use the in the wrong place? So CEDAS is very helpful, and encourage students to use it as much as possible. Just go for a student union website to know what societies are there. Do you have any words?
I would say biggest thing is don't stress and don't rush yourself. Your entire first year is there for you to find your feet at university. It doesn't contribute to your final grade of your degree. It's there so you can learn how to write and so you can meet people and learn how to live by yourself. So just stay calm, join in as many things as you possibly can because there's so many opportunities. You've only got 3 years to make the most of them, but also you have time to learn what works best for you. So don't put pressure on yourself to know that before you start coming.
Yeah, definitely. I think to follow on the back of that is something we've said previously, which is throw yourself in as much as possible, but also don't push yourself off the back of that, as you said too. Use all the services that are available. They are there to help you. So don't let any of them go to waste. The Student Union and Hall Life, they have some amazing events throughout the week. Your Freshers Week and your Welcome Week, so please go to them. You'll be able to go to so many different activities and nights out, and that's where you can make some of those friends. And don't forget to go to the Society Fair. It's the best thing. It will seem really overwhelming, but you get to see all the societies and get free stuff, so it doesn't get any better.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of following on from yours, my main piece of advice would be definitely reach out to wellbeing services and to the services that are around uni, no matter how small the problem seems or like how insurmountable the problem seems. Like there will always be something that can be done, even if it can't be completely eradicated in like one move. There will always be some kind of step that can be taken that will make things easier. So definitely reach out.
Definitely. Well, thank you for all your questions, and we'd just like to say thank you for listening to us. And we hope to see you in September. If you have any more questions, please do contact Unibuddy, as there are student ambassadors working, and they'll be able to answer your questions about anything related to university or Royal Holloway. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.